Ted Cruz spoke to Axios. This was a really interesting interview for a number of reasons. What he's going to do here is lay out for you what I think is the single biggest line of bullshit that comes from the right on the issue of the Supreme Court. Let's watch, and then I'm going to dissect it.
One thing you said, you wished they talked more about the Supreme Court. You said the last time, 2016, when this happened with Merrick Garland, that not only did you want to hold it at an 8-person court through the election, but even beyond. If Hillary got elected, you were willing for it to be a 4-4-8 court. Now you say it's essential that Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed before the election because we need a 9-person court. It could be a constitutional crisis if we don't have it. We need it to adjudicate the election. I mean, isn't that a little cynical?
I think the chances of a contested election and litigation this cycle are enormously high. And we need a method of resolving certainty. I also think, going back to the checks and balances, that the Senate has a role in resisting justices who will damage and undermine the Constitution. And so when I was resisting that, if Hillary Clinton was going to nominate judicial activists, I was going to oppose them. And the reason I was going to oppose them is because I told the people of Texas, I'm going to oppose judges that undermine the Constitution. So it's entirely consistent to say, if you got a president who's appointing the one, I'm going to fight to confirm him. If you got a president who's appointing the other, I'm going to fight not to confirm them.
You just didn't seem concerned about that in 2016.
There is a real difference between what Democrats and Republicans are looking for in Supreme Court justices. Democrats are outcome-oriented at the court. They want their guys to vote their way. They assume what Trump wants and a Republican Senate wants is a justice that's going to vote for Donald Trump.
I think Trump might want that. Just a guess.
What I want the justices to do, if we have that, is resolve the cases according to the law and the Constitution. So I'm looking for a justice who will follow the law.
No, you're not. No, you're not. See, this is the thing. Their line on the courts is, who, me, bro? I don't even care about, like, my political opinion or whatever. Like, my opinion's sort of, like, irrelevant and stuff. All I care about is that these people follow the Constitution and follow the law and do the right thing. But it just so happens that in every instance, that aligns with your political opinion. So in other words, they won't just be honest about the fact that of course they care about the outcomes, of course they care about conservative opinions, and that really is the guiding principle, and they work backwards from that. And they come up with legal rationales to say, this is why we should rule this way. They don't admit that. They play hide the ball. And so they act like, it's not even about my opinion, bro. It's not even about my opinion. It's about the law and stuff. And it's just incredibly dishonest. So here, let me give you a great example of this, because there is no such thing as an originalist or a textualist. It just doesn't actually exist. And the reason is, there's so much room for interpretation when you read the Constitution. They didn't touch on everything. And so the founders didn't touch on everything and give a clear answer on everything. Of course, we're going to interpret it and fill in the gaps in, the modern era. That's what happens with everybody. So Ted Cruz, Mr. I just go by the Constitution, bro. I'm a textualist. I'm an originalist. Ted Cruz has argued that there should be, and I'm not kidding, go look this up, you'll be amazed. Cruz said there should be unlimited billionaire money, corporate money, big donor money in elections and in politics. He wants unlimited corruption in our political system. Why? Because he says, First Amendment, bro, freedom of speech. I'm not kidding. That's the argument. The argument is we have the First Amendment, so therefore, obviously, billionaires and corporations should be able to buy politicians. Because when they give money to politicians, that's not corruption. That's not a bribe. That's them saying like, hey man, this is like speech, and this is me saying that I sort of like agree with you on stuff. So this is a guy who says, I just go by the plain face reading of the Constitution. It says nothing in the First Amendment about giving money to politicians. Nothing about it. Nothing. But he interprets it that way. Why? Because that's his political belief. His political belief is pro-corruption, pro-money in politics. So you see what I'm saying here? This idea, this notion that there's only judicial activists on the left, that's utter nonsense. In fact, the key conservative Supreme Court era is defined by judicial activism. It's just right-wing judicial activism. That's the Lochner era, what we've been talking about a lot recently, with Amy Coney Barrett now getting on the court. So, listen, the honest reality about the Supreme Court is, of course it's political. It's inherently political. Everything's political. Yes, judges on the right and judges on the left are going to say, oh, I'm just solely going based off of what the law says, what the rules are, what the Constitution is, and I'm telling you my interpretation of that. They're all going to say that. But in reality, yes, they are very informed by their political leaning and by their own ideology. And they don't just go, yes, whatever I think the Founding Fathers said when they were wearing powdered wigs and shitting in outhouses, that's what I'm going to go with now. It's ridiculous. Again, there is no such thing as an originalist or a textualist. Everybody has to interpret the Constitution in their own way. And since they didn't touch on everything, you have to fill in the gaps when you're dealing with modern cases. So everybody believes, to one extent or another, in a living document theory. Yes, everybody also has some element of originalism and textualism in that they will reference the actual words in the Constitution, but there is no clear, black and white, straightforward interpretation that everybody agrees to all the time. That's ridiculous. So I find it so smug and arrogant that, like, they think we're just pro-law. That's what we are. And the Democrats are like anti-law. No, they read the same document as you and they have different interpretations as to what's acceptable and what's not acceptable today based on that. It's not like you're pro-law, you're pro-Constitution, they're anti-Constitution. I could easily make the argument, you're anti-Constitution because you made up that there's a right to corruption in the First Amendment. God, he's so smug. I'm Ted Cruz. I think corruption is freedom of speech. And also, I believe in the law and the Constitution and stuff. Go away, Ted. Go away.